Well, let's go back to the studio and we can join Natalie.
Welcome back to Matchday Live. So it is 0-0 at half-time in the first leg of the Carabao Cup, and it is Newcastle 0, City 0. No shots on target for either team in that half. I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely fine with that, knowing that we've got the second leg to come at the Etihad. City slightly edging the possession there, 59% to City in that first half as well. Still joined in the studio by Steph Horton and by Amos Murphy. Steph, what did you make of the first half?
I think it was quite cagey from both teams. I think it was two teams trying to put the stamp on the game, and a few bits of yellow cards, a few flying tackles in. So I think we haven't seen the best of each team yet, but I think this is what it is about the cup competitions, is that sometimes it's about trying to win that battle first. And like you said, no shots on target from either team, so that just shows like everybody's trying to battle for possession and control of the game.
Amos?
Yeah, it feels like a scrappy cup game, which, you know, we spoke about before the game, that could transpire. I know we may be a bit optimistic with the goals, but there's still a second half to come. And you know what? I'd say it's up to Newcastle to take it to City. They're the home team. They're the team that's going away in the second leg. You don't want to be necessarily chasing, you know, Newcastle if, you know, City grab a goal or something like that. So they've got to be in the second half, I think, a little bit more open. City, just be there. What I would say, don't get dragged into the little mind games that Newcastle are trying to, you know, wind up City players. Don't need to do that. You can keep your heads, you keep your cool. But yeah, I don't think we'll be necessarily watching the highlights back too often in the future.
It feels like it's simmering a little bit. Like there's been a few, like you say, cynical fouls, a few over-egging things, a couple of yellow cards. Obviously, the O'Reilly and Joe Linton came together, a bit of pushing off the ball. It feels like it's simmering, Steph, but it's yet to bubble over.
I think maybe half-time came at a good time for a lot of players. I think, obviously, Joe Linton and O'Reilly was probably the big kind of incident in the first half in terms of both fighting in that midfield position. But I think that's what I love about it. I think sometimes we lose that little bit of football, and it's nice to see that it means so much to the players, and players are wanting to be successful. I think we probably lacked that little bit of quality in the first half. I think we haven't really got Haaland into the game as much as Semenyo's had maybe a run at Lewis Hall, who's dealt really well with him, and Foden hasn't really kind of hit the form that we've seen over the last few weeks. But I think this is the beauty, they can get in half-time. They've got Pep Guardiola, who's probably going to tweak some things tactically just to try and gain that advantage. But there's still so much to play for.
Yeah, let's talk about the tactics now, because before the game we spoke about the 11 and we tried to work out where everybody was going to be playing. And do you know what? We did a pretty good job of it. So when we look at the back four, it's Ake in left back, the two young centre backs that we talked about how exciting that is, Steph, Matheus Nunes on the right. We didn't do bad, Amos.
No, and even Matheus Nunes stepping into that midfield role as well, which we did speak about, could be a possibility. No natural holding midfielder there, and I think at times when you look at how City's attackers maybe taking an extra 5 metres or so to get up the pitch, you don't have that guy who's winning the ball back. So I think Nunes going in there does offer a little bit of solidity. Newcastle's fullbacks have really sort of doubled up with the wingers as well, which is making it difficult for Semenyo, Doku to find that space, which obviously they operate in, do so well operating in. So yeah, I think we did pretty decent job in terms of how City would set up. Newcastle,
I noticed going down the right quite a lot, Steph. Are they targeting Nathan Ake, do you think?
Yeah, and I think it's not a disrespectful thing towards Ake because he's a brilliant defender, but it makes sense that he's not really played that much at left back. Obviously, the title-winning season, the Champions League season, he played there a lot, but obviously over recent times he's been probably more playing at centre-half. But and I think, of course, they've got pace, Newcastle. We said that before the show, before the game, was that they have pace in them wide areas. Now Harvey Barnes looks as though he's going to come on instead of Murphy. So, but I think Nathan's winning the battle, which is the most important thing. And I think them battles all over the pitch are really, really important to this game. I think if we can get that little bit more control in midfield, I really do feel as though we can then get Haaland involved even more and on the ball, because he's such an important player. And when he's not touching it, it's kind of like, how do you actually get him involved as much as possible?
Yeah, how do you think we're going to do that in the second half?
Yeah, I think you've got to look towards that midfield sort of three, because, OK, Haaland's occupied and he's clearly taken up the attention of the two central defenders. That's where I'd like to see Phil Foden pick up the ball in the pockets, or maybe looking towards the second half, Shirky could come on and do something like that. It just depends how Guardiola wants to approach that second half. Do you want to get that victory and obviously have that cushion, or do you want to, is it more defence first? It reminds me actually a little bit of the Champions League run that City had in 2023, Leipzig, Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. They didn't win any of the away games, and it was kind of, okay, let's stay in the game, and then at the Etihad we can blow them away.
Oh gosh, you got me thinking there. So what would you do? Do you want it?
It's yeah.
If it finishes 0-0, you happy?
I'd tell you what, I think you get towards 65, 70 minutes, see where the game state is there, because it could be a case of, right, okay, Newcastle are sort of fatigued. You can possibly win the tie tonight, and maybe they dangle that carrot of Shirky coming on, getting inside those areas, because we know how devastating he can be in terms of shooting from the edge of the box or picking a pass. Or if it's not looking like it, you don't need to go and chase it because of the insurance of a second leg.
What do you think, Steph?
Yeah, I think you've got to look at the bench at some point. I think with Man United around the corner as well. I think using the likes of Shirky, Rodri. I think if you want someone to come on and control a midfield, both from a defensive point of view and attacking, I think he is the guy to go to. And I think he's at this stage where you're trying to manage his minutes. He would probably be normally playing if he was fully fit, in terms of what we're used to seeing when he won the Ballon d'Or, is just churning out games every single 3 or 4 days. But I think for me, we've got options, which is the main thing. And I think it is all about trying to... I think we've got the talent to be able to go and win this game. And I think it's just being a bit brave, but we know what Newcastle can do.
Lovely. Thank you, Amos. Thank you very much, Steph. So, of course, this is the League Cup tonight, and City had that great win in the FA Cup at the weekend. Of course, that 10-win victory over Exeter. But I'm sure so many of you remember, and you can cast your minds back to just as the tide was turning in football, and also specifically in Manchester as well. Back to 2011, when we won the FA Cup. I feel like I remember every single game, my journeys down, the moment Yaya scored, everything about it. So there is a new feature coming out across all of Manchester City's platforms, and it's called The Trophy That Kick-Started a New Era. So let's have a look.
One of the longest waits in football is over. Manchester City are winners again.
It's been 35 years since Manchester City last won a major trophy. Do you feel that desperation from the fans?
I think that is a time that Manchester City win a title. FA Cup is a very important title. I am excited for this.
It's the master against the protege, a former City boss against the current incumbent. Ericsson against Mancini, and Leicester City will have an early opportunity to examine Manchester City. Floated in by Gallagher, touched on, and Leicester ahead!
Oh, I need to watch that. That is available across all of the City's platforms. I have to watch that because the memories I've got of that are so special, because the FA Cup is so special to this club. So, of course, going into the 4th round of the FA Cup, the draw took place last night. City got another home draw, and we'll be playing either Salford City again or Swindon Town, because that game was called off at the weekend because of the weather. They will play on Tuesday, the 20th of January, and then we will find out which of our opponents, both in League 2 again. Amos, happy?
I think you've got to be. And it's no disrespect to either of those two teams, but it is luck of the draw. And, I think Newcastle got Villa. There's some teams in there that you really, really wanted to avoid, especially with the schedule. So, look, it is what it is. A home draw anyway, but against a lesser opposition, you've got to be happy.
Yeah, and of course we had Salford last year. We had that big victory against them. But Steph, again, I said it earlier, got to show respect to all the teams after what Macclesfield did to Palace.
Yeah, we can't really underestimate how special the FA Cup is, and how motivated teams would be to come to the Etihad Stadium against, a team that's won a lot of trophies over a lot of years. So, yeah, of course, it's favourable in terms of the fact it's at the Etihad. But, yeah, I know that the boys will never underestimate the opponent, that's for sure.
We're going to get some great content, whatever happens, because the manager of Swindon is Ian Holloway, who unbelievable, lovely personality-wise. You could imagine him and Pep having a chat. That would be incredible. So Swindon currently sitting second in League Two as well. Salford in fourth in League Two. Salford's manager Carl Robinson, we had on this show last year as well. Another cracking personality there. So whichever of those managers comes to the Etihad, I'm sure that we'll get some wonderful scenes. But given the fact that Swindon in second on 46, Salford in fourth, so sitting just under that 3 go up in League Two on 43, Walsall 43 above them as well. So whichever of them it is, they are going to come to us full of confidence and full of belief.
Yeah, and it will be their moment in the spotlight, really, won't it? Fourth round of the FA Cup, away at one of the biggest teams in the country. You've got to say that they'd be fancying it. And, to be fair to Exeter, before City scored that first goal at the weekend, they certainly had opportunities. And who knows, if one of those goals goes in, it's a much different game. But I think, both the men's and the women's team have such a connection to the FA Cup that, fingers crossed, it's another run, because it's 3 finals in a row, but 2 defeats in a row. So fingers crossed we can make that put that right this year.
Oh, yes, please. I need to banish that memory.
I know.
Oh, Amos, it's awful. I'm going to say it. I'm really sorry, everybody. I smirked when Palace got knocked out.
I think we all did.
I've never forgiven Dean Henderson.
Yes.
Never. So you can see scenes there. That is inside St James's Park right now. So you'll get your second half commentary on City Plus tonight. So, Steph, what do you want to see in the second half?
I think take advantage of when we are in that final third. I think Doku's created some really good moments. I think that pass to Bernardo and he pulled it back across the 6-yard box. I think we've had some of their moments, but it's just not really clicked. So I think if we can really advance runners, allow Phil to go, allow O'Reilly to get in the box a little bit more and just be kind of confident that everything's okay at the back, I think we will create Newcastle problems. But I think that little bit more energy and, put Newcastle under some pressure.
We know obviously what Harvey Barnes did in the Premier League game. We talked about it extensively before the show as well. Does it give you a bit of nerves seeing him coming on?
Perhaps. Would yet to see if he's going to come on the right-hand side. You'd assume he would. He has played there before because obviously Gordon's on the left. So that'll be a test for Ake. I think Doku will then have to sort of be aware and make sure he's tracking back. I want to see City, it might sound a little bit silly, just be sensible in this second half. You're not going to lose the tie tonight, or fingers crossed you're not going to lose it tonight. Just make sure whatever the game sort of pans out to be, you keep your cool and see where it is, and fingers crossed nick a goal.
Yeah, if we nicked a goal, I'd be ecstatic because I feel like if it stayed as a draw, any draw, taking it back to the Etihad on the 4th of February, then I really fancy a Steph, because we talked about Newcastle's advantage of having St James's as well. So if we can get a draw, I'm going to be buzzing.
I do think that if we get a draw or we get a goal in this second half, I think it suits us. The fact that the game has to open up, Newcastle will be more under pressure to go and score at St James's Park, and that suits our players well, that little bit more space, that little bit more of being able to run with the ball and pick more passes. I think they've got to then commit more bodies, so that would be the perfect scenario, is that we're able to get the ball in the back of the net and then we can play a little bit more of our game. But I think to take them back to the Etihad with some sort of result, it does put us in our favour.
And we're going to have to stay on our toes as well, obviously, in terms of Newcastle's attacking options, because Visser's been playing, although he hasn't had too much of the ball. They've got Voltamardi on the bench, who's done well. Probably not hit the heights that he'd want to yet, but he's done well. In terms of that, would you be worried if there was a change there?
Yes, but again, you've seen the two centre-halves. They've dealt with it okay enough. Obviously, Visser had a chance early doors, which was maybe onside, maybe offside. So I think they'll be aware of it. Voltamardi coming on will be a little bit of a different battle because he's a bit more physical. So maybe a test for Kusanov or Max Elaine or whoever. But I think, we spoke so much about the two attacks. It feels like the second half's going to be more about the defences. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
And he's massive as well, isn't he?
Yes,
he's really, really
gigantic.
Tall. How do you think, in terms of set pieces, balls coming in, if Voltamardi comes on, how do you think Kusanov and Elaine will do?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I think we've done really well on the set pieces. It looks though set pieces are going to be probably the kind of where the goals are going to come from in this second half. But I think, of course, I think your role, you've just got to deal with that position. And the most important thing is not to try and give them away. I think that's probably the most, it's so simple and so basic, but I think if we can avoid it and bring in more throw-ins and corners, that would be great. But I think Voltamardi is a problem because he drops a little bit deeper, so it's how does Elaine and Kusanov really deal with him in that kind of communication with the midfield.
Seen Ryan Nouri coming out there as well, back from
Nice
AFCON. So the team are coming out. You'll get the second half commentary on City Plus. Steph, thank you so much. Amos, thank you. OK, 45 minutes Blues of this first leg left. Everything crossed for a good result for City, and we will see you at full time.
Thanks, Nat.